While it was nice to finally see some rainfall in parts of Oklahoma this week, the entire state continues to experience some level of drought, and ranchers and their livestock are certainly feeling the stress of too much heat and not enough water. Jason Doyle joins us with what that means for both producers and consumers of beef. Jason.
That's right, Rich. Oklahoma cattle producers are watching the forecast closely for rain, but until some of it actually fills their ponds and greens up the fields, they're trying to make do.
We haven't had any rain since June the 8th.
Dwayne Stevens is the owner and operator of Stevens Farm in western Oklahoma. He's been raising cattle since he was a kid.
I was 9 years old. I saved my money, $20 I remember. And up the creek, the lady up the creek had a milk cow and had a heifer calf. And I bought the heifer calf from her for $20, and I started my cow herd with that one heifer.
Stevens says this drought has already impacted his pastures, so he's had to shuffle parts of his herds around.
We're already have been feeding 3 or 4 groups of cattle, and probably in the next 2 weeks we'll take some of those off of the pastures that's completely depleted and go to more of the graze out land, which will hold them for a while.
While Stevens doesn't plan to shrink his herd yet, he can tell his fellow cattle ranchers are feeling the pressure of the drought, higher input prices, and increased difficulty in finding enough feed.
I get 2 or 3 phone calls a day.
Looking for hay.
Looking for hay.
He adds there are those who are taking action to cull their herds now because they believe this drought will linger and further impact their ability to keep the cattle fed.
Right now, there's been 3 semi-loads of old cows come in at Apache at the stockyards south of me, and this rancher is anticipating what's going to happen, and he wants to sell them while the price is still good to beat the run.
Last week, the Oklahoma City National Stockyard saw a major uptick in cattle being brought to market.
Yeah, last week we sold between Monday and Tuesday's auction over 13,000 head of cattle, which is about 5,000 to 6,000 head above a year ago at that time.
Kelly Payne is the president of the Oklahoma City National Stockyard. She says while the drought is playing a role in the increased business, there are other factors as well.
The market was trending higher going into the 4th of July holiday. We're traditionally closed over that time. And with that higher market, folks got pretty excited. Any chance we get to put a few extra dollars in their pocket, we're certainly going to take.
This week, the market settled down a bit.
The market this week had almost 7,000 head for Monday's auction, and the price rebounded. The quality of cattle was a little better this week too. A lot more weaned cattle than we had seen last week, but the challenges are still certainly there as we move forward.
With more ranchers deciding to thin their herds, it means beef prices at the store should come down for a short while. But consumers should expect if the drought persists, those prices are expected to rise because there will be fewer cattle heading to market over the next 2 years. This drought is impacting a far wider region than just Oklahoma.
Well, interestingly, a lot of the same conversation that we're having in Oklahoma, specifically around the drought. It's really tough across the country, especially in the western side of the United States. Has been longer than it has been in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma Cattlemen Association Executive Vice President Michael Kelsey is in Reno, Nevada this week at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association's summer meeting and has heard the stories about ranchers deciding to cut back herds due to the drought. In Oklahoma, his members say it hasn't been this bad in more than a decade.
We're hearing from our membership that comments such as this is very similar to 2011 and 2012, or has the feel of that. And then even a few saying, nah, it's probably a little worse.
As of this week, the U.S. Drought Monitor shows there's very little of Oklahoma which is not impacted by a lack of rain. There are large swaths of areas classified under extreme drought in all 4 corners of the state. When you look further out into our region, you can clearly see the severity of the drought. That also means more cattlemen could be getting help from the federal government.
As soon as we get designated criteria from the right channels, that we are able to provide the assistance and the funding and the help that they need.
Steve Copeland is the executive director for the USDA's Farm Service Agency in Oklahoma. He says the drought must reach a certain level before aid can be made available, and many parts of Oklahoma have hit that mark or are quickly approaching it.
Currently, there are 41 counties in the state of Oklahoma that are eligible, and there's 25 counties that are in D2 drought right now.
But I'll take you down there short.
In the meantime, Dwayne Stevens is taking measures into his own hands by irrigating to ensure he has enough to feed his herd.
That's the only reason. If we didn't have the irrigation farms, we wouldn't be able to hold out, because we're trying to raise enough hay to hold on to the cattle. Okay. The cattle is what's carried us all these years.
The one thing that will help bring relief is rain.
A lot of people are selling right now to anticipate what they expect. No rain in this area.
Nothing a good rain wouldn't sure cheer up the attitudes for, and boy, the outlook for this weekend looks fantastic. Very optimistic about that.
We've got some cooler temperatures in the forecast. There's some rain in the forecast. That always makes people smile. This market's going to get better. I like to say, and I wish I could have trademarked this myself, but tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Well, parts of Oklahoma have received some rain this week, and the forecast shows more is expected over this weekend. The triple-digit temperatures will return in the middle of next week.